I am now 17, but I started my periods and going through puberty when I was 8 or 9. I hated it. I actually hated it at first. When I was 8 or 9, I just wanted to be a boy. I remember saying, why does this only happen to girls? Why does it not happen to boys? It's not fair.
It was a very difficult time because I wanted to be a child and I wanted to still have fun, but at the same time I wanted to get older and I wanted to get bigger. So I mean, it was quite difficult, but then you have to get bigger. You cannot stay a child anymore. So it's like, suddenly I'm being forced to become mature.
So I'm 14 and I feel like it kind of started when I was 11. I think I was just like really scared because obviously you know blood's gonna come out, but seeing it come out is terrifying. And like there was like obviously a bit of a mess down there. And seeing that I was like really scared. Because I'd also never had a nosebleed or anything. The most blood I'd seen was on TV, which is obviously all fake. Yeah, it was quite scary. It was like watching a horror movie or something.
My school was quite strict, so unless you've been sick or there's something really wrong with you, they're not going to send you home. So teachers just thought I was being lazy in class and was overreacting, because that's what most girls do. Miss, I can't go to school because I'm on my period. I physically couldn't move. I think I was about 13, and then my period pains turned from being stomach cramps to being pains in my back to actually my bumhole. And as a woman and as a girl, I'd never heard of it. So I was always like, Mum, this is not normal. I need to go to the doctors, because no one else has ever said that their period pains are in their bumhole. And then it got to the point where I was getting sent home from school because I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit down. It was awful. I know that my mum looked through my books one parents' evening, and it was like 1 or 2 days a month when my writing was just completely, you couldn't read it because I wasn't able to hold a pen.
I mean, I didn't really physically change for like a while. And like everyone else was like growing and like had boobs and stuff. And then like I started like growing up a bit more. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. So I'd be like fitting a bit more, I guess. But yeah. I was still very self-conscious about like my body and stuff, like, because like all I can think about is like the whole thing going on in my mind is like, what are other people thinking? Are they laughing at me in the heads? Do they think I look weird? Do they think I look fat? Or like, it's never like, I don't know, normal thoughts.
I think when they first like started to really like get bigger, not that I have big boobs, but when they started to grow, I was like really like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I want everyone to know that I have boobs. I wore like I tried to make my tops as revealing as possible, show as much cleavage as I could. So what a lot of the girls started doing was push-up bras and then like flimsy sports bras on top, because it really gives you the cleavage and it really makes them bigger. I definitely did that.
A few months after the period, my boobs started growing. And I didn't even really realize it until I saw stretch marks, because it happened very fast. And my thighs started growing more, and I got mistaken for an older woman. Like, I'm pretty sure I was hit on by like a 25-year-old male. It's crazy because at the time I was 14.
I'd like walk down to my friend's house, so she lives a road away, and instantly, because I was in shorts in the summer, but because my hips were wider, it was just things started to change. I thought it was normal at first. I thought, oh, that's a bit weird, but it kept on happening. And there was this one time, this guy was leaning out of his car and shouting at me, and I was like, I'm really scared because I'm small. Anyone could come and take me, and it's like, it's terrifying. I was 9.
Body hair kind of just went from none to loads. I remember I grew facial hair at one point, armpit hair, hair done. It was just everywhere, and I was like, why? And then it was like smelling like BO, and because I've got OCD, it was like, what is this? Why am I using deodorant in the morning and by lunchtime I'm smelling again? And I said, Mum, I need to go to the doctors because I smell weird.
I think social media has really changed my perspective of my body as well as other people's bodies. You need to have big thighs, but they can't be too big, otherwise it's bad. But they can't be too skinny because then you're skinny. Things like hip dips, I didn't know what hip dips were. And then someone, like, they were on media and everyone was saying they're awful, and I realised I had them and then I hated them. Hip dips are essentially like fat that forms on your hips. So instead of like having like an hourglass figure, it's kind of like it goes in again. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, it was never anything I thought about. And then suddenly it's become one of my biggest insecurities.
The change from like year 6 to secondary school, I was like in a really bad mental state, and like my anxiety was like off the roof, and like I don't remember much from then, and I think that was because of how little that I was eating, because like it affects like what you can like remember. And I still got in my head the mentality of like, we can't have breakfast, can't eat lunch, can only have like a dinner.
The acne and the spots came from when I got my first initial period when I was about 8 or 9. But what didn't help my acne just going through puberty was that I had eczema on top of that. I feel like it wasn't my face, because they weren't the same colour as my skin. They were very noticeable. They weren't small, they were huge. They weren't just on one part of my face. They were my forehead, my nose, my chin. I started one secondary school in year 7, and I got bullied there because of my eczema. So I moved to another school, and then I lost all my hair. So then that was just another complete different thing. And then race came into it, because I was mixed and light skin. I should have this type of hair, and I didn't have that type of hair. I didn't have any at all. You're not a girl, you don't have hair. So it was like, I am a girl, I'm in an all-girls school. They were just really nasty and mean. And no matter what teachers said, teachers can't control what the rest of the students say when they're not there.
Because I'm tall. I got picked on a lot because I'm tall. Now it's not so much, but because everyone was smaller and I was like the giant and stuff. Or because like everyone was like, you're so tall, you're never gonna get a boyfriend who's taller than you. You're like weird, why are your limbs so long? But that mostly started like in secondary school, because in primary school it's like cool to be tall because you're faster. The faster you were, the better you were at sport, the more popular you were. And then as soon as you get to secondary school, it's all about looks, and personality isn't even that big of a thing. It's most of the time just about your body.
I started to stress about everything, and I mean everything, so like tiny, and I started to get like anxiety and panic attacks during school, and so I didn't tell my parents this at all, and I just kind of really distanced myself from my parents. Like I'd stay in my room and have dinner and then go back to my room and then get in the shower and then go to bed. I could never and have never figured out what triggers them. They just came.
I think the boys are only just starting to like really change, like their voices are all now dropping, and I think it's definitely the summer from year 9 to 10, which we're about to go through, that they really start to shoot up. So some of the boys are now finally taller than me, which they took their time. But then, yeah, most of them are still tiny with like really high-pitched voices. And all the girls just like, I want a mature man, I need like a manly man, like someone who's like not this squeaky 9-year-old that sounds like a little child or looks like a little child.
I think boys also make girls feel worse about what happens to females because they are so uneducated that everything is a shock. You bleed? Yes, we bleed. Does it hurt? Not the blood coming out physically, but there is symptoms and signs that do hurt. Oh, so you don't wee? Yes, we do wee when we're on our period. Like, it was just so many comments that I've spoken to about with my male friends, and I was like, we don't turn into aliens when we're on our period. We do function the same way. And then I think it's just, are you on your period? That question is just so annoying. Like, if a girl's being moody, no, maybe you're just annoying me. Maybe I'm just not in the mood today. It doesn't always mean that I'm on my period just because I'm not happy.
And also, like, now sex is becoming a conversation. Like, 16, you have to have sex like at that age, and it has to be done before 18. Otherwise, you're like this weirdo who doesn't have a life. And it's like kind of terrifying because there's no one in my school that I like, or in general. And even if I did and I didn't feel ready, and then someone finds out that you haven't had sex when you're 18, it's like crazy.
I mean, people have told you about the association, like, if you get your period, you could get pregnant. And because I have the app on my phone, for example, if it says, oh, you're one day up, it's like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. When you've never had sex, it's kind of like, oh my gosh. For example, if you go swimming, right, and there's a man in the pool, you make that connection. Like, if your period's, like, it's like, oh my God, maybe like somehow, like, it's completely impossible. But your mind just goes there. It's like, there has to be something why my period's late. Although it's like 1 day late, it's like, maybe, just maybe I'm pregnant.
I actually have a boyfriend right now. But yeah, we've been together for like a year and like 7, 8 months. But yeah, he actually got me that. That's for him, and like the roses downstairs are for him. He honestly really helped me. Like, we talked together about anxiety, we talked together about aliens, we talked together about everything. He's made me understand myself, and I couldn't have thanked him more, but like, we haven't actually kissed before because like, we want to save it, but like, like I hold his hand sometimes, but I don't like to because I've got really sweaty hands, and he's complaining because he has sweaty hands. So it's like, okay, we won't hold hands then.
I don't think anyone can be prepared for like what's going to come. I think I would have wanted to be prepared because it probably just made me concerned. I think the anxiety around certain things is always going to like be there, like some social situations and like doing things, but I think I will be able to like go into them like and be able to get over it, but that like the feeling of anxiety is always going to be there. It's never going to go away.
Now that I think about it, I think it was silly that I was stressing, but in the time when I was that age, I didn't really see it as being silly. I thought, this is my life. I thought that was how I was going to be forever. I didn't think it's going to go away soon. This time next year I'll look completely different. I thought, this is my life. My life is over. I'm always going to look like this. But now I look back on it, I'm just like, why was I being so silly? Why did I not see that it was fine to look different?
I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, I have the body to have children. I'm 14. I can literally deliver a child into the world, but I'm a child. And it's like, it's cool, but it's also so weird. Like, the fact that my period starts when I'm 11, but most likely I won't have children until I'm at least 20.
I don't know, I've never really put it in that kind of way. I mean, I love to have children, and I love children, like I love being around them. But all this just to have a child, that's a bit much. I mean, I've never really thought about it like that. That's so weird. All to have a child, I have to struggle this much. Oh my God. I've never thought about it like that. Oh my gosh. That's so annoying.